everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy and welcome to another edition of Foundation Friday for Over 50, in which I'm searching the world over for a holy grail foundation that works on more mature skin. Now I am 53 years old and at this point in my life finding a foundation that covers what I want it to cover but doesn't make my wrinkles and everything look worse is not an easy task. So I've tried a number of foundations, and in the hot seat today is Clinique Beyond Perfecting Foundation Plus Concealer. So what is new and different about this formulation for Clinique and for most foundations is that it does contain concealer. They've also included an interesting oversized doe foot applicator that is supposed to help you apply just the perfect amount of foundation because, as they say, a little goes a long way. So let's get into it. This foundation retails for $27 for 1 ounce and it's available in 20 different shades. Now the shade range is broken up into 4 different categories, which are very fair, moderately fair, medium, and deep. So based on that and the 20 different shades, you should be able to find a shade that will fit you pretty well because there is a wide variety and they are from fairly fair to fairly dark. The problem is that a lot of the fair ones seem to run pretty dark. But I got a sample. The sample that I got is in buttermilk. And let me just bring in the swatch for you to show you what that looks like. Buttermilk is actually from the very fair group of colors, and I don't consider myself very fair. Usually when I pick out a foundation, it's in the medium range, sort of on the light side of medium. So where this is a very fair and it's a good match for me, it just tells me that the very fair ones come out quite a bit darker than they actually look. According to the Clinique website, this foundation is lightweight yet moisturizing. It offers full coverage, 12-hour wear, in a natural matte finish that's good for all skin types. They also say that it's heat and sweat resistant, so if you are in your menopausal years, it could see you through a hot flash potentially. I always say this, unfortunately I didn't have a hot flash. Really what I mean is fortunately I didn't have a hot flash. So I did not have the chance to test this through any heat, humidity, or a hot flash. This is mainly a water and silicone based foundation with some moisturizing ingredients in it. It does not contain any fragrance, alcohol, or oil, so it shouldn't be drying. Because it's a foundation and concealer, it has a very thick, stiff texture. The recommended application method from Clinique is that you use the doe foot applicator to apply the exactly right amount. So when you open up the bottle, it has a little plastic insert in there that kind of scrapes off the wand. They say that what's on the flat side here is what you should use for most of your face. So you do a swipe across your forehead, one on each cheek, across the chin, and then here on the angled side there is a little indented cup there that holds more foundation that they recommend you put a swipe down your nose. Then you are supposed to blend that out with your fingers, and then you can use whatever's left on here to do spot concealing. You can do concealer under your eyes with it. You can do, concealer on a zit or whatever you have, age spots. So it seems like a very handy and precise way to apply. So let's go and look at the footage of day 1 when I applied this foundation for the very first time. I decided to go with the recommended application method and apply it with my fingers. So I dipped my finger into my sample, dotted it around my face, and then applied. This foundation has a very stiff, thick texture, so it is not a dream to blend, and it actually stays tacky for quite a while, which is good since it takes a while to blend it in. So I feel like it actually covers the redness and tonal issues very well. The tiny amount that I used definitely gave solid medium coverage. It wasn't 100% full coverage, as you could still see some of my freckles and blemishes through the foundation. It has a dewy finish that I would not describe as natural matte. It is definitely a little bit shinier than I like. Alright, so putting it on with my fingers, I felt like it looked really waxy and obvious. Like I'm wearing a mask of foundation from the 1970s. It settled into pores upon application, leaving me with the polka dot face that I really hate, and it settled right into my wrinkles. It made my wrinkles look huge, and it made every imperfection on my skin be magnified. I couldn't stand how this looked. I didn't like it from a distance. I really hated it from up close. I felt like I had orange peel skin on my entire face, and like I looked like something that had escaped from the wax museum, and I couldn't see wearing this all day. So I washed it off. If I hate something, I've decided that's it. I'm not going to wear it all day and see how it wears until I get it to work right with a different application method if I can. Which fortunately on this one I did. So the next day I applied it with a damp blending sponge. Because of its thick and stiff texture, it does not blend very easily, even with a blending sponge. But I gotta say, after I worked it and worked it and worked it with the sponge, it finally did kind of sink into my skin and make a nice even surface. It took a lot longer to do, but it did finally blend in and actually look nice. With the blending sponge, it didn't settle into my pores. It didn't give me polka dot face. It did still settle into wrinkles, which was unfortunate. And then I applied a setting powder over it, which, because I didn't like the semi-shiny finish of it, I did put on a setting powder to kind of dull it down a little bit, and that helped a lot. I was like, wow, I don't know if it was because I used the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores powder, it helped to smooth it over, but I think that this foundation is not so great on its own, but it can actually be pretty good when you apply powder over it. I still didn't love it. I still felt like it was so thick that it made my wrinkles look bigger and more magnified where it was settling in there, but at least it wasn't doing the breaking up on the surface and sitting inside, you know, every ripple and everything. So it did look reasonable, and once I put the powder on, it looked a little bit better so that I could wear it all day and actually test it for you and show you what the wear was like. So let me bring in the 5-hour check-in. It was starting to wear off a little bit at 5 hours, so I don't think their claim of 12 hours is really going to hold up completely here. But I gotta say at 5 hours, I think it looked a little bit better, because I feel like as it wore off a little bit and it became a little more natural looking and less masky, that I liked it a little better. I also feel like the heat of my skin kind of helped it to melt in and, you know, not be so settled into the wrinkles. At the 10-hour check-in, again, it was just okay. It certainly wasn't going to last for 12 hours, but it was fine at 10 hours. It wasn't completely worn off. Even though this was supposed to be a moisturizing foundation, I found that as the day wore on, I felt it was a little bit drying, and there were dry patches on my chin and in a few different spots around my face by the end of the day. Then today, of course, is the 4th time I'm wearing it, because I do like to show it to you guys in the video. To apply it today, I used the applicator from my friend's bottle. I borrowed it just as a prop to use in the video. I wiped it off. I dipped it into my sample. I think I applied more today probably than I did the other day when I used it with a sponge. So it is acceptable for today, I think, but looking in my mirror right now, I feel like it is still giving me a little bit more wrinkly of a look and making my skin look slightly older than other foundations that I do like that look younger. But the other thing that I wanted to note about it is that since it does stay tacky for so long, when you put on your bronzer and your blush, it does not help them to blend very well. And I feel like my bronzer is definitely a little more defined than I usually put it on, like it's definitely more of a line. All right, so let's break it down into the 9 categories of interest with foundation, starting with the coverage. Coverage is a solid medium coverage right out of the chute with the tiny amount that they recommend. You can build it up to full coverage, but I don't think it looks very good. I think it looks very cakey, very masky, very much like you're an escapee from the wax museum, unless you powder over it. For the finish, it says it is a natural matte finish. I don't find it to be a natural matte finish. I find it to be more of a dewy finish. On the pores, I did not enjoy it on the pores. It settles right into them when I applied it with the fingers. When I applied it with the sponge, it did not settle right into the pores, but it's not doing anything for them either. I feel like this whole part of me looks like orange peel skin, and I don't like it. As far as the wrinkles, it settles right into your wrinkles when you put it on with your fingers. No way around it. It is in there. It breaks up on the surface. I think it makes me look older. For the wear, you know, it's not 12 hours as promised. I'd say it wears good and solid for about 8 hours. Then it gets shinier, starts thinning out and wearing off. For the feel, the face feel, it's heavier and much more noticeable than I like. And I felt like I could feel it all day long. It didn't feel that comfortable. For a foundation that is supposed to be moisturizing, I didn't feel like it really looked moisturizing or like it felt very moisturizing. It did cling to some dry patches on my nose. At the end of the day, I felt like it was very drying looking around my mouth. For the phone test, it failed the phone test. It had makeup all over the place on the phone. For the flash photo, here, let me take it right now. So for me, this was an epic fail, but I'm sure that there are people out there who would really like this, like my friend. People with drier skin, people with rosacea, or who need a lot more coverage, or who really like a full coverage look. You may really love this. I personally don't. It's not my cup of tea. So on me, it was the opposite of perfecting. It was beyond not perfecting. It was just beyond bad for me. So it made all my skin's flaws stand out. And you know, I'm not into that in a foundation. I like it to make my skin look better than it is, not worse than it is. And so the search continues. So that's it for today's video, everybody. I hope you found it helpful and informative. And as always, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your watching, and I hope you have a great day. So take care, everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.